My topic for this paper was racism towards African Americans. I decided I wanted to talk about the most infamous group to stem from racism, the Ku Klux Klan. Racism has existed in America since almost the beginning of its colonization. What started out as discrimination quickly changed into legal issues, which eventually led to slavery. The Civil War may have abolished slavery for good, but it did not do away with racism. In fact, the end of the Civil War prompted the creation of one of the most infamous terrorist groups, the Ku Klux Klan. This group was founded in 1866 in Tennessee by several Southern Civil War veterans who used violence to overthrow the Republican government leaders, both black and white. The group continued to use violence to intimidate, harass, and murder African Americans throughout the South until the 1870s, when it died out. Many people left the Klan during this time because they thought there was no need for a secret anti-black group at the time, as the current cultural setting was already enough. In 1915, the group was given new life after a new film, The Birth of a Nation, shone a nostalgic and admiring light on the foundations of the group. This time, the KKK was reborn, not only out of hatred of African Americans, but also of Catholics, Jews, immigrants, and organized labor, or labor unions. Soon after this, in the 1920s, the KKK reached its peak membership, about 4 million people nationwide. A branch of the KKK was even opened for women, called the WKKK, and this attracted about 500,000 more people. During this time, the traditional white hood and robe and burning cross became national symbols of the KKK's contempt for anyone different than them. In 1944, the KKK was disbanded again as the Great Depression and new war efforts forced many members to leave the organization. This didn't last long, however, as the group returned in the 1960s as the civil rights movement began, and when pressure to comply with the Civil Rights Act of 1964 angered many racist Southerners. Reports of bombings, whippings, and shootings, along with other acts of terrorism, confirmed the resurgence of the group in the 1970s. This third installment of the KKK is the group that exists today. Estimates put membership of the current KKK anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000, belonging to around 30 distinct chapters throughout any of the southern states. Although the history of the KKK is a long and sad one littered with violence, terrorism, hatred, and sorrow, there have been many protesters and activists who have achieved great things for the cause of anti-racism. One important activist who is still alive today is Daryl Davis, an R&B musician who seeks out Klansmen and convinces them to give up their robes. Davis first met a Klansman at a bar where Davis had just performed. The man walked up to Davis, and the two bonded over their love of the music style of Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis. The man confessed to Davis that he had never before sat down and spoken with a black man, and a realization came to Davis that many Klansmen had based their beliefs in beliefs that they hadn't really researched and they hadn't dug deep into. And since Davis's first meeting with a Klansman, he has befriended over 20 KKK members and is directly responsible for 40 to 60 members leaving the Klan, including chapter leaders and overseers. Over 200 members have left the Klan because of Davis's indirect influence. One of the most famous people who Davis has influenced is Robert Kelly, who was an imperial wizard of the Klan, which means he oversaw a chapter. Davis's tactics for speaking to Klansmen is to hold civil, knowledgeable discussions about their beliefs. He often reverses racist points back onto the white Klansmen. For example, Davis often hears the opinion that all black men are violent and have violent genes. While talking to one man, Davis asked of him, "I'm a black man, however, have you ever known me to be violent or carjack anyone or assault anyone?" To which the man replied, "Your gene is latent, it hasn't been activated yet." So Davis turned this around and said, "Well, you must be a serial killer. It's in your genes and just hasn't come out yet." When the man protested, Davis said, "Name 3 black serial killers." The Klansman could not. Davis said, "Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, Charles Manson, Ted Bundy. These men are all white, therefore all white men must have the gene to be a serial killer." The man responded by exclaiming the stupidity of that logic. And Davis agreed that that line of logic didn't make sense. A few weeks later, the man turned in his robes and left the KKK. Today, Daryl Davis continues to lecture on race relations around the country and has been the star of both a biographical book and a documentary entitled Accidental Courtesy: Daryl Davis, Race in America. Daryl Davis and countless others like him helped to overshadow the KKK's legacy of hatred with love and reason and determination to make the world a better place. As much hatred as the KKK spreads into the world, there will always be activists to overshadow them.